All right. All righty. L'chaim v'libracha, to life and to blessings. Folks, we all have to work. We all have to, well, maybe we don't. But many of us work, go to work. We need to provide for ourselves, for our family. That's the nature of the world. The nature of the world God created after the Garden of Eden. In the Garden of Eden, it was all provided for you. All you had to do is to partake in God's garden, appreciate his garden, know the right thing to take from the garden and what not to take from the garden, like that tree. And it was all wonderful. But since then, we got to work hard. As they say, blood, sweat, and tears, in order to make a livelihood, in order to be able to put, as they say, food on the table. And that's been happening for thousands of years, of course, ever since Adam was kicked out of the Garden of Eden. By the sweat of the brow, you shall till the soil, and you shall earn your livelihood. And of course, as a result of that, it's hard to give away something that you worked really hard for. And even if you didn't work very hard for, if it's something that is going to enhance my life, it makes it difficult. But before even giving something away, what is the attitude about what I have to begin with? Is it there to take care of my responsibilities? And what exactly is our responsibility? Is our responsibility is to make sure you're okay and that your family is okay? That's reasonable. That's, the human condition. And it's actually a very good condition. Unfortunately, we live in a day, times, where people don't feel that responsibility to take care. And they, as the phrase goes, they don't man up, right? Excuse me for being gender specific. Sorry, no. Yeah. Welcome to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Zich and Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We are in the 9th letter. This 9th letter, the Alter Rebbe sets the bar very, very high on what it means to make a livelihood, what it means to be responsible. Where does responsibility begin? Where does it begin? Where does it end? Does it end? So he begins with words of my beloved ones, my brethren, friends who are unto me like my soul. Wow. So he says, I'm coming to remind you and to awaken you from your slumber of vanity of vanities, that our eyes need to be open, not to be blinded, right? Let not the strivings of our lives be not in recognition that our strivings for our life is bound up with the fountainhead of life, with God. Right. In other words, it's very easy that when we're studying Torah or we're praying that we sense being bound up with God. But when it comes to mundane activity, that's my stuff. That's my personal responsibility, if you will, right? It says the Alter Rebbe that all mundane matters, and in particular earning a livelihood, should not be for one's own sake. What's your own sake? Take care of that who you feel responsible for, and that's your family. It shouldn't be like that, because that's being like all the nations of the world.
Lost.
That's called being human. You listening?
Yeah, but
so just listen.
Are we on
No.
Sunday or?
No, could you?
What day are you doing?
I'm just don't follow inside, because then you won't follow anything. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So the nations of the world, they feel very proud when they can provide for their families. They feel very good about themselves. A Jewish way is not that way. It's not that way, right? But why? Because that's being selfish. That's taking care of what's mine and what makes me feel good about me, right? The verse said, Mikam Israel Goyech who is like you, people of Israel, a unique nation in the earth. We're not a unique nation in heaven. In other words, in our prayers and Torah study, we're unique in the earth, in earthy things. We don't act like the non-Jewish nations who take pride in taking care of their loved ones. That's not who we are. We're different because we bring God even into earthly matters, even to making a living, right? And the Alter Rebbe goes, he's very strong in his words over here. The very high level over here of devotion. Don't say the Shema, closing your eyes, and have the unity of God and thinking of the oneness of God with your eyes closed. But when your eyes are open, oh, there's a world in front of me. And there, all of a sudden, you lost the unity of God. No, the unity of God is not just in the spirit when your eyes are closed and there's nothing else there before you. There's no other reality before you but the sense of God. Open up your eyes, and there too is the unity of God, right? Meaning, even that area of the world where naturally we do things for our own motives, for our own needs, for our own ends, which is selfish. Taking care of your family, in the end, says the Alter Rebbe, is selfish. It's selfish. I mean, it's a good selfish, right? But it's not a holy selfish. It's a human selfish. And in that human selfish, that's we live in a world today that people don't even recognize that. Right? They're so self-centered that they don't even recognize the responsibilities that they have towards their family. So no. So then, well, what then? What? Okay, what does this mean? How do we understand now? So our approach should be as follows: you're involved in the material world not for your own sake, but for your own sake, because your spouse, your children, what are they?
You.
Yeah, exactly. They're an extension of you. They're a reflection of you, right? So the fact that you take care of them is really taking care of yourself. In that sense, it's selfish, right?
Yeah.
In that sense, it's selfish, right? In other words, it's not coming from your godly soul. It's coming from your animal soul to take care of your loved ones, right? But we should act like God. What does God do? He's giving to every single one of us life gratuitously, right? He's giving us life gratuitously. When I give to my wife and children, I might not be doing it gratuitously. Maybe he was looking for a payback. right? The payback could be I feel good about myself. I feel very proud that look how I take care of my family. Well, that's a payback. Or it could be like, I invested in you so much in my children, at least take care, listen to what I say, right? Follow my rule, whatever it might be, right? Whatever it might be. But God, He takes care of us, His kindness gratuitously throughout the day, right? Do you know what we need to do? We have to do the same thing. We are responsible to take gratuitously everybody, the entire Jewish people we're responsible for, and take care of every fellow Jew, period. Hey, but what does that mean about my wife and children? How's that fit in? Like that, it seems like missing something. So Alter Rebbe says, yes, your wife and children take precedence because the Torah says it takes precedence. That's doing it for the sake of heaven, not because that's what you want. That's something you're not doing because that's what you want. Because if that's what you want, then you're doing it out of your selfish desire. But if that's because God said to do that, oh, then it's not merely based on my desire. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean you can't have that desire, and we will, because that's the human condition. But we have to recognize that, and at least be mindful that there's something greater here. God says, take care of my family first before I take care of someone else's family, because that's what God said. But inherently, every Jewish family, every Jew, I am connected with them in their soul, and therefore I need to take care of them. Actually, it's interesting. The righteous, I have to take care of them before I even take care of my own family. Because the righteous, even over my own family, I have to take care of the righteous first. That's the halacha, based on Jewish law. All right, we won't go into that detail right now, but but in other words, based on Jewish law and Torah, what it says, there's an order of the precedence of who I'm responsible. So you're doing that a commitment to God as opposed to serving self. That's what the Alter Rebbe is telling us over here. Whoa. That's very powerful. That's very powerful. Now we go to today's class, but better to listen than follow inside. L'chaim, Chaim Dov. David's coffee.
Yeah, nice. You schmooze me after you give me this.
Because you're all over the place, as your normal way.
No.
We love you, David. We love you. We love you. So says the Alter Rebbe, in our times we are on the heels of Mashiach. On the heels of Mashiach, what is the main way to serve God? It's through charity. Not like in the times of the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Gemara. There, the main way to serve God was through Torah study. The main way to serve God was through Torah study. Back then, they didn't write down the oral Torah, right? I mean, eventually it did in the Talmud, but everything that's in the Talmud wasn't written down. If you wouldn't have sages who were dedicated to remember everything by heart, we wouldn't have a Torah. We wouldn't have Judaism, right? Yeah. So the main way to serve God then was Torah study. And also they were lofty souls. So, that was their way. But now, everything's written. We all have access. Actually, the Alter Rebbe is not really saying this, but what he's saying is because we're in the times that the Holy Temple was destroyed, which is the metaphor of the sukkah of David has fallen to the feet, to the heels. When something falls, it falls to the heels, right? And therefore, we're now, so to speak, by the heel of the final redemption. And therefore, the heel represents action, right? Because that's the step forward, right? How do you take action? By taking a step forward, right? Moving forward. So that represents action, the heel. So we're now in the times of the heels of Mashiach. So what do we need to do? Take action. What mitzvah encompasses action more than any other mitzvah? Tzedakah. Because when I put on tefillin, I'm putting on the action is on one limb, the arm, right? When I'm saying a blessing, I'm using my mouth. But when I give tzedakah, even though the act of giving is maybe with only the arm, extend myself, but the money that I earned, I used all of my powers, right? Blood, sweat, and tears, as we say. Or even if I didn't use all of my blood, sweat, and tears, but with this money, I could buy a comfortable, better life, right? I could have more in my life. So it represents tzedakah, the money, a greater part of the material world than anything. And therefore, it is what makes difficult to open up your hand and to give, because, hey, this is my life, and I want things for what benefits my life. So I'll give to my family because that's my life. But that I should be able to give openly, freely, that I should give tzedakah in such a manner, right? That's already difficult. And that's why it's converting more of the negativity or the challenge that we have, and therefore the negativity that we have within us, that we want to hold on it, and that money should be used for my benefit. And when you give it, you're transforming it. And you're transforming, therefore, from the material world more than you would in any other kind of mitzvah. And that's why it is the main mitzvah now before the coming of Mashiach.
Rabbi, the account that Eddie given yesterday about the businessman response and all of these.
Yeah.
Is that what you refer to? Is that a classic example of what is being constructed? That they had given so much of their finances at once to help the soldiers in terms of the barbecues and so on.
Yeah, I mean, or it could, if for some person giving $18 might be, it's not the amount. It doesn't speak about an amount over here.
No, but the fact that they were able to assist and certainly soldiers, injured people were benefited.
Right.
Is
I mean,
that part of, is that
yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. But the point over here is that I'm taking something that naturally I want to use for my benefit. So I'm going to, I'll benefit what's mine. What's mine? Me and my family that I am responsible for. My children, my spouse, my wife, right? So the fact that I'm taking from that, it's not about an amount, and it's not even so much the recipient over here, it's not this recipient being a soldier or a wounded soldier, that's not so much the point over here. The point is that we should not be like the nations of the world, right, who pride themselves in taking care of their family, because that's the animal soul talking, right? Because you're just priding in what's yours. So that's self-centered. Here means to be God-centered. So there's the idea over here that I'm responsible for every Jewish soul, except there's a precedence, and that I have to take care of my wife and children first.
After Siddiqui.
Right. So there's that precedence, right? So he's speaking more about the attitude here than who the recipient is. I mean, what you're saying is correct, but I want to make sure that we get the message here that the Alter Rebbe is saying.
Recipient is?
I mean, it matters in the precedence of, right?
Yeah.
In the precedence, right?
Yeah.
So your family comes first. So if your family doesn't have what to eat, right, and you're giving to another family and they have what to eat, and your children don't have, food on the table for them, so that would be wrong, because now you're going to have to go ask and go get from the community, so your children should have that. Doesn't make sense. So take care of, Doesn't make sense. It's wrong according to the Jewish law. According to what God wants from us, that would be wrong, right?
Because we didn't Rambam, you start with home and then you
Yeah, well, that's exactly what he's saying here. Exactly. But not because that's my preference. Because it's God's preference. That's the whole point over here. That's the whole point. That's a very, naturally we do it because that's my preference. Of course, I'm going to give to my family first. It's my family. But yeah, that's the whole point. That's what human condition dictates. If I have something left over, I'll give to. Yeah, but we got to go on 2 vacations a year. And we got to have this and that. Well, that's all about you. Yeah, do you have to go? Now, maybe you do need to go on 2 vacations a year because that's what God needs from you to do, not because that's what you want. Yeah, it could be that you need to go on 2 vacations because that's what your wife needs. That's what your kids, whatever, because that's what's needed. Rather, that's what I want. That's what's needed. That's what God needs from me. So maybe you do, but that's already a different perspective on it. I need. I want. Right? Me. So this is the perspective the Alter Rebbe is giving, a whole different perspective on how we look at charity. So therefore, I'm responsible for the entire community. Except, first of all, I'm not a millionaire or a billionaire, so I'm limited. So I've got to now prioritize. So therefore, I'm giving to my family first. I'm giving to my community, the community that I deal with, right? So it means like the people in the shul here would be responsible before you give to another place, for example, right? And so on and so forth. That doesn't mean to necessarily an individual, by the way. It doesn't mean to the individual. It could be to an organization that's taking care of individuals, right? And as we learned, poor, the Talmud tells us who's ultimately poor? Only one real poorness. There's really only one kind of poorness of the mind and spirit. In spirit. Because physically, one person could be very happy with one slice of bread, or another person's not even happy with steak and potatoes. Because I had that already last week. Right? So that's not real. A poorness, meaning weak in your connection to God and your knowledge of God, that that we're all poor. L'chaim. Any other questions? Very good, excellent.
Russian, God created the universe for me. Does that apply in any way to what we're talking about right now?
Excellent. So what does it mean? God created Adam singular and one, and the Talmud says, our sages say, that God created the world one for one person, Adam. And the truth is he did. Everything, the sun and the moon. When Adam was created, there was only a sun and moon for Adam. Right? All the trees and animals that were created, there was only for Adam. So our sages say that a person has to look at creation, that God created the whole world for me, just for me. So thank you for bringing that. That's very, very selfish, right? No, that's how irresponsible you are.
Yeah.
The whole world's created just for me, that I'm totally responsible. Actually, fits in perfect, right? I'm totally responsible. The whole world on your shoulders.
Every mitzvah is-
And every mitzvah we do helps to change the world for good.
Yay.
So folks, just a reminder of our monthly campaign. What a perfect timing. That on Rosh Chodesh in particular, that you could still give to the Chai Club for the monthly giving. Those who haven't had the chance, many of you have come forward online, and we thank you. Joseph, what ways would you suggest that we go beyond our positive selfishness right here in giving? As the Alter Rebbe is saying that, right? But this is an attitude that I do what God needs from me rather than I do what I need for myself, right? And of course I do, I listen to God because I need that for myself. Because if not, Davida, shouldn't we remember that it's not our parnasa but Hashem, that we are the tools and he uses it? Yes, absolutely, that's correct. That we need to remember that. Thank you. But that's not the point over here. That's a point in other letters, that God is the one who gives us our livelihood. Absolutely. Actually, we said it here. We said it in a different way. God gives us gratuitously life, not just livelihood, but our very life. So we should mimic God, and we should give life gratuitously to others. Darren, we make our families come first to secure that to be connected or more connected to God. Yeah, that's our responsibility. Exactly. Okay. Amazing. Rambam coming up. Folks, amazing. God bless you all. Don't forget tonight, we have at 6:30 Torah studies. 8 o'clock will be TRC. TRC.
Potato soup.